Welcome to Corvette Today, the podcast that talks about everything Corvette, with your host Steve Garrett, MC and DJ at one of the largest Corvette weekends in the country, Corvette Fun Fest, president of the Corvette Club of Kansas City, Missouri, and radio disc jockey at the #1 radio station in Kansas City for over 40 years. Here's Steve Garrett.
Thanks for listening to Corvette Today, the podcast that talks about everything Corvette. I'm your host, Steve Garrett. I appreciate you tuning in. You can listen to Corvette Today on all podcast platforms. You can also listen on your smart device. Just say Alexa or Hey Google, play the podcast called Corvette Today, and you're connected. Also, visit the Corvette Today website. It's CorvetteTodayPodcast.com. And while you're there, make sure you visit the Corvette Today merchandise store. You can also sign up for Corvette Today emails, notifications, and updates at corvettetoday.ck.page. And don't forget, join the Corvette Today Facebook group. We have over 3,000 members, and I'd love to have you as a member as well. I'm also excited to tell you about the new YouTube channel for Corvette Today. See your favorite Corvette Today podcasts now on YouTube. First, I'd like to thank our flagship sponsors of Corvette Today, Aerolary Wheels, a true forged wheel with over 20 unique design styles to choose from for your C8 and wide-body versions of the C7, C6, and C5 Corvette. It's an absurd value starting at only $19.88 for a set of 4 fully forged wheels. And use the promo code CT100 for Corvette Today 100 and get $100 off your purchase. Visit Aerolary.com. That's AEROLARRI.com and use the promo code CT100 for your $100 discount. Also, Corvette Fever magazine. Corvette Fever has been relaunched with an online and printed version. The online version has incredible interactivity with hidden photos and information, and the printed version is nothing like you've ever seen before, huge and glossy. Get your free online version at CorvetteFeverMag.com. You can also sign up for the printed version there as well. Corvette Fever magazine, come along for the ride. Also, MidEngineCorvetteForum.com, the forum that focuses on the new mid-engine C8 Corvette. Meet a lot of fellow Corvette enthusiasts like yourself at MidEngineCorvetteForum.com. Also, a shout out to CanadianCorvetteForum.com, welcoming Corvette owners from around the world. Let's get you up to date on the latest Corvette news and headlines with my buddy Keith Cornett from CorvetteBlogger.com. As you know, Keith is a regular guest on Corvette Today. He's here twice per month, every other week, to keep you up to date on what's happening with America's sports car. Keith, welcome back. Are you ready for the holidays?
You know, Steve, I'm working on it, still trying to find those perfect gifts, but having a lot of fun this year. Just trying to do some little things different. I got a couple granddaughters that are getting a couple Corvette things, little things like that. Just trying to extend the excitement of Corvettes into the next generation. Christmas is a perfect time to do that, so we like to take advantage of it. So, yeah, we're working on it. Steve, how about you?
I am doing all right, buddy. I think I've got all my shopping done. I did everything mail order this year. Didn't get close to a shopping center, so I think I'm ready to go.
Shopping center? What is that?
Exactly.
Seriously, it's been a little while since we've been to a shopping center or even a mall. It's good to get out. We've done a couple Christmas things already, family-wise, so hopefully you're doing the same.
Absolutely, buddy. Well, let's get into it. Let's start off with Corvette C8 production there at the Bowling Green Assembly Plant.
Things have been going well. We had that shutdown at the very beginning of November where it was just the second shift was basically shut down. Since then, we've seen production return. Some days it's strong and some days it's We have days where we'll do 184, 182 in a day. And then the next day we might only do 135 or 140 or 150. The week averages are falling down a little bit, 168, 170 per day. But we're still able to get out these cars. There's been some talk about the chip shortage impacting like heated seats and heated steering wheels. It looks like that's happening for other cars under the General Motors brand. But for Corvette, it appears that we're protected again. I'd say things are well. The other thing that was going on with the plant was there was a quality hold on wheels. And I have dealers now telling me that cars that have been held for a month or longer are now finally ending up at the dealership. It looks like Chevy's working their way through that one as well. Depending on how production was on Friday, we should cross over 10,000 VINs for the 2022 model year. So that's always a nice little milestone there.
Absolutely. That's outstanding. And this was interesting to me as well, Keith, because Chevrolet is going to send 12 GTLM C8R edition cars to Mexico to sell. We could have sold those here in the United States as well.
Yeah, part of this, I think, is Chevy's wanting, especially with these special editions, they're wanting to get these out into a couple of their export markets to not only bridge the gap for support for Corvette racing, but it's a cool offer. Usually these are sold out right away. United States, they did sell out, but it looks like Chevy did reserve a few cars that they're sending over to Mexico. And I would bet a couple cars ended up in the Middle East as well. Mexico has 10 performance centers. That's how they sell the Corvettes and Camaros there, through these dedicated performance centers.
Gotcha.
So there's 3 in Mexico City, and then the rest are scattered throughout the country. They'll get the 12 cars down there. I think they're being sold for some crazy number, which is always crazy. But yeah, 2.9 million pesos, which I think ends up a strong price over the American MSRP. It's kind of sad to see these cars go to Mexico, in terms of, we know that customers here would have snapped them up if given the opportunity. But we also know that some dealers are selling these cars as a stock unit, not as a customer sold order. So you might be able to find some of these on dealers. However, they will come with an upcharge.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That's about par for the course, buddy.
Exactly.
Also, Chevrolet is going to begin to automate customer order updates for Corvette buyers. I thought that was outstanding.
Yeah, this is probably the most important piece of news that we've had over the last couple of weeks. The problem with ordering cars is you place your order, and then General Motors utilizes a event system with numbers. So when you hit 2,000, you hit 3,000, you hit 3,800, something happens there. Well, the problem is that a lot of times customers are left in the dark. They're not hearing from their dealers that they might have crossed over one of these milestone event numbers. You can call the Corvette Concierge, but that's, again, you calling them. So what they've done is they're going to come up with a way that when your car reaches event 3,000, which is accepted for production, General Motors is going to start emailing you. So what they'll do is when you're placing your order, they'll capture your email address there. And then when you hit 3,000, you'll get an email that says your car is getting ready to go. It just follows you all the way down to when the car is being shipped to the dealer. You don't get a notification when a car arrives at the dealer. General Motors still wants the dealership to be the final point of contact for their customers. But again, this should be a great way to keep people notified and updated on the status of their order as their cars are being built.
I thought that was outstanding. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Also, Chevrolet is going to kick off the Z06 Dealers Tour next year. We did that with the C8 Stingray at our Hendrick Chevrolet dealership, and I know that they've signed up to do the Z06 Tour as well. This is pretty exciting.
Yeah, this was huge back when it first started. And again, it gave people the opportunity to go out to their local dealers, see the new mid-engine sports car for the first time. Dealers were actually allowing people to sit in the cars to see, if they fit and how they feel about it. So it was a really good way to introduce the mid-engine Corvette to customers. Now we have the Z06 that's going to be out there. I know a lot of dealers might be taking a pass on it this time. Their lists are full. There's really no reason to do the cost and bring out the whole tour. Like you said, your dealership's doing there. We heard that Sioka in Atlantic City is going to be offering a Z06 day. These are supposedly going to start sometime in early February. We don't have the full dates yet. Again, General Motors will plan something for the dealer, but they leave it for the dealer to announce it. So if you're wondering if this Z06 tour is coming to your local dealership, you might want to give them a call. It might express interest and they might want to bring it in, but maybe they've already done it, in which case you can look forward to seeing the Z06 in your hometown.
I'm looking forward to seeing it as well. Even though we were at the reveal in Los Angeles at the Peterson Automotive Museum, it'll be a great opportunity for everybody to look, touch, see, and maybe even sit in the car. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a good thing. And especially for maybe smaller dealers that don't get the kind of attention, bringing in an event like this is a way to really please a lot of Corvette enthusiasts. They get to see the car, you make it an event, maybe you sell some cars out of it.
Absolutely right. And finally, in our news section, Keith, General Motors issued a technical warning that radar detectors can damage the C8's side mirror glass. That was really kind of strange. What's going on with that?
It is. And if you see the picture of a damaged side mirror, you'll think, what the heck is going on with that? It actually looks like it's been infected with something. So what happens is there is actually a power outlet behind a little panel on the rear view mirror on the interior of the car. Since the Stingray has come out, the 2020 Stingray has been out, people have been hot wiring their radar detectors into the connections there in that mirror. There's a right way to do it in that mirror, and then there's a wrong way to do it in that mirror. And if you get it wrong, what's happening is the voltage is causing this mirror to display all these wavy lines in it, and that's from the defrost system that's in the car, and behind the mirrors to help, melt any snow or ice that's on the mirrors. But that higher voltage actually burns through the glass. And so now you've got all these trails. It looks like an ant farm, actually, if you see the mirror. So General Motors put out a tech link, which is basically a notification to the people that work on the cars, the service personnel. They say that if a customer comes in complaining about that, you look for the jumper that's in the rearview mirror and that little power outlet. If a customer comes in with this issue, they have to pay for it because it is something that was caused by an aftermarket install. So Chevy's going to say that you're on your own on that. So if you've got a really crazy looking mirror, that's what's happening.
Well, I think a wish list item would be to make a connection for a hot wire for these radar detectors moving forward. I think everybody would enjoy that, and we would get more use out of it, and we wouldn't mess up our cars in the process.
Yeah, just one more thing here before we close out this section. Just got the news also on Friday morning that Al Unser Jr. had passed away, former IndyCar racer.
Yes.
Al Unser Jr. was the winner of the 1978 Indy 500. And of course, that was the first year that Corvette paced the Indy 500. He actually was able to take home that pace car from that win. He is a four-time winner of the Indy 500. Another legend passing away, and of course, someone that had a Corvette connection. So we just wanted to put that out there.
Absolutely, Keith. He is a race legend. He will be sorely missed.
Yep, absolutely.
Buddy, let's take our first break, and in section number 2, we'll talk about Corvette racing and Corvette rumors here on Corvette Today.
Stretch the life of your Corvette's paint with NovaStretch Performance Protective Covers. NovaStretch covers provide superior protection for your C5 through C8 Corvette, utilizing stretch fabric technology and an innovative fastening system for quick installation and easy removal and storage. Made in the USA for a tailored fit, the patented design and breathable mesh protects your Corvette without rubbing or chafing the paint like traditional bras. And unlike clear film solutions, NovaStretch provides full front-end coverage including the grille, keeping radiators and heat exchangers clean without creating airflow issues. Visit novastretch.com and use the code CorvetteToday15 to get 15% off your order. Protect your Corvette with NovaStretch.
VetteFinders.com is the Internet's original Corvette classified ads website, with classified ads starting at just $25, and every ad runs until your Corvette is sold. If you're in the market for a Corvette, VetteFinders.com has over 500 Corvettes for sale from all around the USA and Canada, and covering all 8 generations. Visit VetteFinders.com, the Internet's destination for buying and selling Corvettes. That's VETTE Finders.com.
This is the Corvette Today podcast with Steve Garrett.
Hey, thanks for listening to Corvette Today, the podcast that talks about everything Corvette. I'm your host, Steve Garrett. With me every other week is Keith Cornett from CorvetteBlogger.com. We keep you up to date on what's happening with America's sports car. In section number 2, we talk about Corvette racing and Corvette rumors. In the racing section, Keith, Corvette Racing is taking 2 C8Rs to Daytona. That was good to see.
Yeah, and it's funny we're talking about this. It'd be like, haven't they always taken 2 cars to the Rolex 24?
Right.
Yes, they have. But of course, this year is going to be different because they are splitting off the season. So one car will be racing in the IMSA series here in North America, and then one car will be racing over in Europe and across the world in the World Endurance Championship. It's the number 4 cars that's going to be racing over in Europe, and so they're bringing that car back over for the inaugural race here for 2022. And again, what we've got is we've got Tommy Milner and Nick Tandy that are doing the full-time driving duties of that car. But for Daytona, they're going to add another WEC driver. His name is Marco Sorenson. He's a Danish driver. He's been racing over the WEC's GTD Pro category over there. In fact, I think he has 1 or 2 titles in the World Endurance Championship GTE Pro category. So we picked up what looks to be like a solid 3rd driver for Daytona. And of course, this race will take place at the very end of the month in January.
Very nice. I'm looking forward to that. It'll be good to have some racing even in the wintertime. So that's coming up soon. Also, GMSV is taking a right-hand drive C8 to Bathurst in Australia. And if you don't know where Bathurst is actually the spiritual home for Australian motor racing. So that was pretty cool to see them taking that right-hand drive over there.
Yeah, they had some big races going on here at the end of November and early December. So for General Motors to be able to set up their displays there and now actually show real product, I'm sure is very exciting for them. They've got 2 C8s over there that they took to the display, as well as some of their Silverados. GMSV just turned a year old, General Motors Specialty Vehicles in Australia. They're still feeling some growing pains there. Eventually, they're going to have this full cadre of product to be able to show off. So, yeah, it was pretty cool. They went to Bathurst, showed off the Corvettes and Silverados, and we know it's just the beginning for them over there.
And Oliver Gavin also was on Top Gear in the UK. He was talking about Corvette racing and the C8. That was really cool to see.
Yeah, so Oliver Gavin was on Top Gear in the UK, and although we haven't seen the full episode, he's there because they've got the right-hand drive C8 Stingray that they're testing on the Top Gear track. So it's pretty cool. Here's Oliver Gavin. He's kind of given some of his background, something about the car, why he loves the mid-engine car so much. And then they'll show the cut screens over to a interesting fella named Freddy Flintoff, who's doing the driving of the C8 Corvette on their test track. They go back and forth a little bit between these two. I think Oliver Gavin's video is about 4.5 minutes, and then there's another 2-minute video of just the car being tested out there. It's just part of the Corvette strategy of taking over the world. Here we are now with right-hand drive cars in the UK. I don't know if I ever thought we'd see that, but they're out there now. People are driving them, and they're pretty excited about it. It's good to see the cars being tested, and hopefully we'll see a lot more.
Buddy, I think having a world car like this is just fantastic. So the more the better is what I say. Also, in the rumors section, we see that there might be some different colors for that twin intake manifold on the new C8 Z06. I was really excited to see them maybe offer that opportunity to do some different colors there.
Yeah, you know, the official photos of the LT6 engine shows the twin intake manifolds are in black, like a flat black, with the red on the valve covers. It offers a nice little contrast there. You remember when we were at the Peterson, they had a cutaway display there, and those intake manifold covers were silver. And then on another sighting we had, Motor Trend, when they were doing their rollout of the Z06 information, they were up in Detroit where they were filming their little bit up there, and they were showing an LT6 that had the red manifold covers. So it looks like they are playing with it. They gave us no confirmations when we were out at the Peterson, but they said it is something that they are planning. Like the Stingray's LT2, where you can customize the engine cover, it comes standard in black, or you can pay $5.95 to get a red one or a silver one. We are definitely hoping that General Motors does something similar with the color on the intake manifolds there. It just allows people a little bit more customization to pick the right color they want to show off in their coupe, because that's where you can see it at.
That's awesome. I think that more customization is the way to go. When you look at Ferrari and Lamborghini offering that kind of option, I think having Corvette doing that is just fantastic.
Well, when you see these engines in the outside, we see the cutaways, we see the picture of the engine with a white background. That's a whole lot of black up top there. But when you put that carbon fiber halo engine appearance thing on top of it, you've got your engine appearance rails on the side of it. It really sits down low, and you don't really see all that black, and you might not see all that red or silver either. But again, it's just a nice way to offer some contrast and be a little bit different than everyone coming off as black. Hopefully they'll do this. I think it's pretty cool.
I think so too. Also, GM is going to start Corvette 8-speed dual clutch production in the second quarter of next year. Sounds like it's coming around real soon.
Yeah, this was planned. There was a worker strike up there in Canada. So as part of their agreements with the plant at St. Catharines, what they were doing was they were going to supplement C8 transmission production up there. Z06 transmissions are a little bit different than the Stingrays, obviously. The Tremec plant produces them now in Michigan. They're right at the cusp. They really can't handle too much more, and any less doesn't fulfill our needs enough. So they came up with a secondary location to do transmissions, and of course, that's just going to help out the Corvette team in the long run of having more production. The interesting thing is that they said it was going to start the production in second quarter of 2022, which is right around the time when we're expecting the Z06 production to start sometime in May. I believe, in fact, it was set in May 9th was when we're going to see the Z06 start down the assembly line in Bowling Green. By starting off the engines a month early, you're going to end up with a nice little supply buffer there. It looks like it's all coming together.
I think so too, buddy. Also, in the final rumor, we had 2 captured test vehicles that were spotted on a transport, which means they're starting to roll out maybe to the Corvette team, doesn't it?
Yeah, we've reached out. We've heard that some of the principals on the Corvette team do not have their captured test fleet cars yet. These are the pre-production cars. They're painted. They're built on the assembly line. They're ready to go. They can be sold after they're used. We've only seen them driving around the test cars with the camouflage on it. There's 2 new cars that were captured on Thursday night last week. They might be headed north. We don't really have a location on them, but it shows a Jack Cooper Transport has a bunch of Stingrays on it. We know their Stingrays are covered with the white transport cloths. But then we had an Arctic White Z06 and an Elkhart Lake Blue Z06, both of them wearing the Z07 packages. The Arctic White car had the carbon fiber wheels, and the Elkhart Lake Blue actually had the forged aluminum wheels. 2 different specs there. Maybe we can get these cars up to Detroit. Taj and some of the other key engineers up there can start driving around. We just haven't really had a lot of sightings of painted cars yet. So I think that definitely the reason why is just because there's the CTFs for the team aren't available yet. So they're hopefully going to be there soon. Hopefully we'll be driving them soon, and then we'll be able to capture them and share them all with you on CorvetteBlogger.com.
There you go. Well, buddy, let's take our final break, and in section number 3, we'll talk about the lighter side of Corvette here on Corvette Today.
American Hydrocarbon, your one-stop shop for custom interior, exterior, and engine bay items for your C4 through C8 Corvette. We can help you create a custom look for your Corvette with carbon fiber or 10 different color patterns and styles. We've served customers in over 28 countries all around the world. Whether it's a custom-made engine cover for your new C8 mid-engine Corvette or custom-made C4 interior upgrades, American Hydrocarbon can help you transform your Corvette into a best-in-class show car. Our products have been featured in Vette and Corvette magazines, so give us a call. 813-476-5638. That's 813-476-5638. And now we're proud to announce that we can produce and distribute officially licensed GM products with the C8 Corvette. That includes the front splitter, the side skirts, engine appearance panels, and engine fluid caps. See everything on our new updated website, AmericanHydrocarbon.com.
Yogi Berra once said, if you don't know where you're going, you'll probably end up there. At True Wealth & Company, we take that to heart. See, at True Wealth & Company, we believe your retirement lifestyle travels through 2 doors. Door number 1, the blue door, gives you more options, financial freedom. Your money outlives you. Every happiness you wish for in life is through the blue door. Door number 2, the red door, is where you outlive your money. You rely on family, friends, or even the state to take care of you. At True Wealth & Company, we're not just financial planners. The best way to walk through the blue door is to have a written plan. Make a work-optional lifestyle a reality with our proprietary True Life Map formula. Look towards your future with anticipation, not apprehension. Having a rock-solid fiduciary partner like True Wealth & Company is essential to effective financial planning. There's no winging it. There's nothing left to chance. Look, we don't want you to become another Yogi Berra-ism. Give us a call today at 913-653-TRUE. Visit us online at retirewithtrue.com. Start your financial independence and work-optional lifestyle today.
913-653-8783. Visit us online at retirewithtrue.com. Investment advice offered through True Wealth & Company, LLC, a registered investment advisor in the state of Kansas.
And now, back to Corvette Today with your host and my husband, Steve Garrett.
Hey, thank you very much for listening to Corvette Today, the podcast that talks about everything Corvette. I'm your host, Steve Garrett. With me every other week is Keith Cornett from CorvetteBlogger.com. We keep you up to date on what's going on in the world of Corvette. Also, if you'd like more information about some of the stories we talk about in this podcast, you can always go to CorvetteBlogger.com and get the full story. Keith, on the lighter side of Corvette, there was a C8 poster in the New Roads magazine from Chevrolet. Luckily, I got my hands on 2 of them. I have 2 posters.
Well, that's good because they're double-sided. You know, there's a picture of 3 cars on the front of one, and then on the back of it's a single standalone Z07. It's good to have 2 posters because then you can show off both of them at the same time.
There you go.
Chevrolet has a publication called New Roads, comes out quarterly. They had a nice feature there on Corvettes. Not only did they have this car, but they talked to a guy that's been driving his C8 Stingray as a daily driver for a year. He was in there. And then they also had this cool art thing where they had 5 artists come up with their vision of this Corvette. And so they put together a nice little montage of these different art projects in there. If you want to get the New Roads magazine, you don't actually have to be a customer to get it. You don't need to buy a new car. We've got it on our website. If you go to CorvetteBlogger.com, search for New Roads magazine, we do have a link there to the sign-up page at Chevrolet.com where you can then subscribe to it and get the magazine yourself.
It was a very cool issue. As a matter of fact, the cover shot was one of the artists that had done a rendering of the C8. It was just beautiful. It's definitely worth keeping. Check it out and get it at CorvetteBlogger.com. Also, Callaway is partnering with Thompson Speedway to develop a track delivery experience. This was awesome. I was so excited to see this story.
Yeah, Callaway based out of Old Lyme, Connecticut, and then Thompson Speedway is also out of Connecticut as well. And I know that Callaway has relied on Thompson Speedway over the years to do different features and track days and things like that. So now it looks like they're actually just really formalizing this promotion together. It looks like they're actually going to be offering like a track delivery option where you can come out, get your car, maybe do some laps there, maybe have some lunch with the Callaway team. Just something more than here's your car at a dealership, take it and leave kind of thing. So
right.
It should be pretty good. And of course, Callaway, they're a performance car company. While their Stingray was mostly just an appearance package, we are expected to see some performance upgrades when they do their Callaway Z06. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be some exciting stuff there.
Absolutely right. Also, Corvette Racing Ambassador Doug Feehan has his C8 Corvette up on Bring a Trailer, and it's for sale.
Actually, this car just sold. Doug had this 2022 2LT Stingray. It's a torch red car, non-Z51. He didn't want a lot of wings and spoilers and stuff. He says he lives in the land of wings and spoilers and doesn't need it on his own car. Just had a very nice looking car here. He put it up on Bring a Trailer and sold it. He got $84,500 for it, which actually is a little bit lower than the general market that's out there. We generally see the 1LT cars selling for about $90,000, the 2LT cars selling for nearly $100,000, and 3LT cars selling above that. I don't want to say that he lost out, but he got a good solid number for his car. The reason why he is selling the car is he's just buying another one, another Stingray. He's not going Z06, he's not going to an IMSA GTLM. He just found that he could sell a 2-year-old car for more of the same of what he can get a brand new car. He just decided to go ahead and do that. So that's how he sold his car.
Well, if I was the one buying that car, I'd have him sign the car as well, but that's pretty cool.
Yep.
Also, a new study shows that the C8 service costs are higher than the C7 service costs, which kind of makes sense. I don't think this was anything that was out of the ordinary or unsuspected.
It does a little bit. And the other thing, too, is that they're comparing the first year of the mid-engine Corvette. First-year cars are always going to have a couple little things going on. But they compared it to the last year of the C7 Stingray, which had now been out 6 or 7 years, was a very reliable platform. So that's how they got those discrepancies, I think. And then people do different things their first year. Some people, despite the fact that they didn't need an oil change until the very end of that first year, they might have opted to get one in the middle of it. They might have also opted to take their car in and do the 2 quarts of transmission fluid for their transmission. There's a number of little things there that might be the reason why we are seeing higher costs. I just really think it equates to a first-year car being compared to a last-year car. I wouldn't put too much into this. And they're talking the first-year car, I think, is under $900 still. So not really excessive in terms of what we've seen some other cars cost.
Definitely. Also, there's a YouTuber called Rich Rebuilds, and he started a C4 EV project. What are the details about that?
Yeah, so these guys, if you look at their YouTube channel, they have millions of subscribers. They've been around for a while. They have a really good audience, and they just do these cool builds. I think for SEMA, here we are talking about a Corvette with an EV. They took a Tesla and dropped a V8 in it and then took it to SEMA. So they're not all about EVs or anything like that, like this project might people think. It's just doing something different. They found a C4 Corvette. Actually, it's a 40th anniversary 1993 car. They go through the process. They show them buying it, trying to get it back. These guys are kind of funny. The things that happen to them are they're trying to get this car, the typical stuff. You go buy a car, the lady tells you, oh, sure, it can make it home. And they didn't even get 20 miles down the road before the car broke down on the side of the highway. They're dealing with this stuff. There's some other things there. So it looks very funny. This video, the first one was kind of a setup to the project. But I think we're going to follow along. It looks pretty interesting. And again, the thing with these C4 Corvettes is they can be picked up for basically a song. And so if someone's out there that wants to follow along and maybe do a similar project, the C4 Corvette might just be a great platform for an EV conversion. So we're going to find out. We're following Rich Rebuilds, and maybe you'll want to follow along with us.
That sounds good, buddy. And our final story, I was upset, Keith. Another guy got to drive a C8 Z06 before you and me did. That was disturbing.
Well, actually, he didn't get to drive it, but he did sit in the car and he did start it up. We're talking about a NASCAR Infinity driver, Jesse Iwuji, and I hope I pronounced that correctly. This guy's got a really cool resume. He was a former lieutenant commander in the Navy. He played on the Navy football team. He gets out of the Navy, and now he wants to be a race car driver. So he's worked his way up the ranks, and now he's an Xfinity driver. He's teamed up with Emmitt Smith, NFL Hall of Famer, to have a racing team in 2022. He's already a Corvette fan. I looked at his Instagram page. He's got some Corvettes on there. He goes and sees the Accelerate Yellow Z07 on display at Phoenix last month. All of a sudden, he's just handed the keys, and so he starts it up, and he just completely loses it. We just hear awesome and wow over and over and over again. Pretty exciting stuff for him. He started up, gave us a few revs, took a look around the car. Again, just fun, exciting. You see the car, you got to start it up, you got to hear it. He says it's in the cards for him, so he is going to be a 06 owner at some point. Just have to see what he ends up going with.
Well, hopefully you and I are next in line to get in that Z06 and take a ride. That's for sure.
I think our time's coming, Steve. We got to just wait a little bit longer.
I think so. We got to be patient, buddy. We got to be patient. Well, Keith, thanks for being on Corvette Today. It's always great to have you here. Next time we get together, it'll be right between Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah, looking forward to that, Steve. Looking forward to taking a little time off, be with family and friends, and actually get behind the wheel of the car and do some driving. Hopefully everybody enjoyed this episode. Again, you can find all the stories on CorvetteBlogger.com, and we see you out there. We'll keep waving.
Thanks for listening to Corvette Today, and please be sure to tell your family, friends, and other Corvette enthusiasts about the Corvette Today podcast. And also thanks to our flagship sponsors, American Hydrocarbon at AmericanHydrocarbon.com, True Wealth and Company at RetireWithTrue.com. Also, Aerolary Wheels, get $100 off your purchase with the promo code CT100 at Aerolary.com. Also, Nova Stretch Bras. Use the code Corvette Today 15 and get 15% off your total purchase at novastretch.com.
You've been listening to Corvette Today with Steve Garrett. If you'd like to contact Steve with any thoughts on the podcast or ideas for guests on Corvette Today, you can email him at stevegarrettdj@gmail.com. That's stevegarrettdj@gmail.com. Garrett has 2 R's and 2 T's. Or connect with Steve on social media on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram using @SteveGarrettDJ. Thanks again for listening to Corvette Today. Welcome to Corvette Today, the podcast that talks about everything Corvette, with your host, Steve Garrett, MC and DJ at one of the largest Corvette weekends in the country, Corvette Fun Fest, president of the Corvette Club of Kansas City, Missouri, and radio disc jockey at the #1 radio station in Kansas City for over 40 years. Here's Steve Garrett.
Thanks for listening to Corvette Today, the podcast that talks about everything Corvette. I'm your host, Steve Garrett. I appreciate you tuning in. You can listen to Corvette Today on all podcast platforms. You can also listen on your smart device. Just say, Alexa or Hey Google, play the podcast called Corvette Today, and you're connected. Also, visit the Corvette Today website. It's CorvetteTodayPodcast.com. And while you're there, make sure you visit the Corvette Today merchandise store. You can also sign up for Corvette Today emails, notifications, and updates at corvettetoday.ck.page. And don't forget, join the Corvette Today Facebook group. We have over 3,000 members, and I'd love to have you as a member as well. I'm also excited to tell you about the new YouTube channel for Corvette Today. See your favorite Corvette Today podcasts now on YouTube. First, I'd like to thank our flagship sponsors of Corvette Today, Aerolary Wheels, a true forged wheel with over 20 unique design styles to choose from for your C8 and wide-body versions of the C7, C6, and C5 Corvette. It's an absurd value starting at only $19.88 for a set of 4 fully forged wheels. And use the promo code CT100 for Corvette Today 100 and get $100 off your purchase. Visit Aerolary.com. That's AEROLARRI.com and use the promo code CT100 for your $100 discount. Also, Corvette Fever magazine. Corvette Fever has been relaunched with an online and printed version. The online version has incredible interactivity with hidden photos and information, and the printed version is nothing like you've ever seen before, huge and glossy. Get your free online version at CorvetteFeverMag.com. You can also sign up for the printed version there as well. Corvette Fever magazine, come along for the ride. Also, MidEngineCorvetteForum.com, the forum that focuses on the new mid-engine C8 Corvette. Meet a lot of fellow Corvette enthusiasts like yourself at midenginecorvetteforum.com. Also, a shout out to CanadianCorvetteForum.com, welcoming Corvette owners from around the world. It's time to get the latest Corvette news and headlines with my buddy Keith Cornett from CorvetteBlogger.com. As you know, Keith is a regular guest on Corvette Today. He's here twice per month, every other week, to keep you updated on what's happening with America's favorite sports car. Keith, welcome back to the show. It's fitting that the last week of 2021 is dedicated to Corvette news and headlines.
It is. Our last time we were talking this year. It was been a good year, considering all the things that have gone on and been going on and the pandemic and the part shortages and all that. I think it's relatively been a very good year for people. Hopefully everybody out there will mostly agree with that.
I think so too, buddy. First of all, let's start off with an update from the tornado at the Corvette assembly plant, and then we can get into some production numbers for this week because we did miss a week of production last week.
Exactly. Well, we all know a tornado hit the Corvette assembly plant on the early morning hours of December 11th, that Saturday. When we talked after that, we were I want to say we were a little bit down. We're thinking that the plant's going to be down a few weeks at least. There was a fire out there. We got pictures later that week that showed some pretty large holes and multiple holes in the roof. We heard that there was damage actually inside the plant. And then GM just sprung into action. And we're used to, as Corvette owners, sometimes we're always on the niche of things within General Motors. We don't make enough cars to really matter sometimes. But then when we do, we see them spring into action. You know, obviously Chevrolet has got one of the highest transaction prices right now. And one of the reasons why is because the Corvettes are just selling like crazy. So General Motors actually had some construction plants going on. They're constructing down at Spring Hill, which is about 90 miles away from Bowling Green, as well as their Factory Zero plant up in Michigan. With the supply chain shortages and they're having trouble getting materials. And if you're in the construction or if you pay attention to what's going on in construction, you know that all that stuff is way more expensive. It's harder to get. It takes longer to get. But it looks like General Motors already had a lot of those materials because they were able to move cranes and materials and manpower into place. And by Thursday of being down, we were learning that they were coming back to work on Monday and full production would be starting up on Tuesday after the tornado event. So it's pretty amazing turnaround how fast they were able to get the plant up and running. Last week on Monday, there was a skeleton crew there. They actually built 6 cars on that first Monday back. And then we received confirmation, and then we see the production numbers on Tuesday. There was both shifts came back to work on that Tuesday, and then they built 124 cars. On the Wednesday, they built 155 cars. We don't really know how many they built on Thursday, but the total count for last week of being production, returning, was just under 500 cars. So all well and good considering what we were looking at the night of the 11th and the 12th and thinking that, we might be down through January. Very good news, Steve. Very happy to hear about what's gone on at the plant. And you know what? This should be an interesting seminar from Kai Spandy, who does his plant updates at the NCM Bash.
Right.
So hopefully we'll be able to get an update and see just how exactly they were able to pull off this Christmas miracle.
That's true. And also, Keith, you had mentioned Factory Zero helping the Bowling Green assembly plant. Talk a little bit more about that and tell everybody what Factory Zero actually is.
Well, Factory Zero is one of the new battery plants and the new Ultium plants that's going up for General Motors, where they're going to be concentrating on electric vehicles. They're also doing some work down at Spring Hill and expanding that factory as well. So, yeah, that's where they were able just to pull all those construction people away and just put them on the plant. We don't really know exactly how they do it, but we got this information from the Detroit Free Press that they were actually working with the Factory Zero people and Spring Hill. So, like I said, when Kai is able to talk about it, it's going to be a pretty interesting seminar at the NCM Bash.
I'm looking forward to hearing that for sure. Also, there were about 115 to 120 cars that were damaged from the tornado. What's happening with those customers and those cars?
So what's going to happen is there was a lot of talk at the beginning. They're being prioritized. They're going to be moved back to the front of the line. Their cars weren't built last week or anything like that once the plant started. So what they're going to do is they have to resequence and reschedule all those orders. They have all the parts available to build those orders. Our understanding is that their cars will be built sooner rather than later. They're not going to be moved to the end of the model year or anything like that, but probably at the first opportunities where they can resequence those orders and get them put back in. That's what we're hearing is being done. Again, kudos to the Bowling Green assembly staff and people up in Michigan for getting that done as well. I mean, people have been waiting forever. So it's real good news that they were able to overcome these obstacles with these orders and these cars that were damaged and get these people back into their happy place and get them back into driver's seats as quickly as possible.
So these cars that were damaged from the tornado will be destroyed then, won't they?
That's what we're hearing. I don't think they might be able to pull some stuff off, do some salvage work on them, but I don't know exactly how they do that. It might just be more economical just to transport them, and maybe they'll bring a crusher. They do that. Sometimes they brought a mobile crusher to the assembly plant. They'll do them there. They might also just ship them out. So it'll be interesting to find out how they do that. Again, we'll probably just find out all this behind the scenes stuff when we get a chance to hear from Kai Spandy.
Very interesting. Also, GM says that the first service for the C8 Corvette has changed a little bit. Isn't that right, Keith?
Yeah, this is interesting too. When you buy a Corvette, within 12 months, you get a free service visit where you get an oil change and then you get your transmission filter changed at no charge. So what's going on is that this transmission filter was scheduled to be changed every 7,500 miles at the first time. And then I think it jumps up to like 22,000 miles for the second time you have to change it. My feeling is that people buy these cars and they don't drive them a lot, obviously. Sometimes in that first year, you might see some Corvettes that have 1,500 or 2,500 or 3,500 miles. So GM actually says it's just because of the driving habits of Corvette people. They're just not driving all that much. Our feeling is that they're trying to get more life out of those transmission filters. Your oil life is your oil life, and they want you to change that 12 months or 7,500 miles regardless, right?
Right.
So when you get your car, your oil life monitor is going to go off in 11 months or so and tell you, okay, it's almost time to get your oil change. You might want to go ahead and do that. Go ahead and just pay for your own oil change. As you get closer to the 7,500 miles, then you can probably think about getting your free oil change and the transmission filter change. You definitely want to save your free service call for the transmission filter because it can be a few $100s to change it if you do that out of pocket anyways. There'll be some that are arguing that you want to get your transmission filter changed pretty quickly. We've seen some issues with transmissions, in the last year or two. Our feeling is that we think that Chevrolet is probably mostly beyond the transmission issues right now. It seems like they've done some changes to them. We're not hearing about owners having all these transmission problems anymore. That's my feeling, is that they're just looking to get more life out of those transmission fluid filters before owners utilize that free service to change them out.
I think that's a great idea because it's always been a problem, and that service was a few $100s, like you said, and that seems to cause a lot of ire with a lot of C8 owners.
Yeah, there's always a little bit of people not really understanding what's going on there. And the oil life monitor, you want to pay attention to that. You do want to get your oil changed within those confines of the 12 months or the 7,500 miles. GM's looking at the driving habits of Corvette people and saying we can make some changes to help accommodate their driving habits. I think it's a good thing in the long run.
Definitely a good thing in the long run. We also have some news for C6 and C7 owners, Keith. In the C6 category, there was a Ninth Circuit court that had nixed a proposed class action lawsuit against GM. This was for the C6 Z06 and the engine valve guides. What's going on with that?
We've been hearing about these forever only because we're going back to the 2006 to 2013 Z06s. There's a known issue with the valve guides and how people have addressed them over the years. It looks like actually it's more limited to a subset of cars sometime around 2008 or so, 2009, where these valve guide issues started rearing their ugly heads. This group of owners actually wanted to force a class action lawsuit, but unfortunately the appellate court ruled that they didn't get their evidence in time. So it wasn't so much they didn't have the correct evidence, they just didn't get it in on a timely basis. Whether or not they're able to reconstitute this or if it's just done and they have to either start over or try something else remains to be seen. But class action lawsuits against General Motors, they never really seem to go anywhere, unfortunately, especially when we have stuff like the cracked wheels. I think is probably the biggest and most egregious case of wishing that the courts would take a look at some of these things that have been done over the years and hopefully correct them on the behalf of Corvette owners. That next lawsuit is the C7 Corvettes, and it's actually over the AFM, the active fuel management. And it's just not Corvettes. This actually affects all V8 motors for General Motors, GM vehicles with the 5.3 liter, the 6.0 liter, and the 6.2 liter V8 engines. They say the issue is with the valve train systems, with the active fuel management and the dynamic fuel management lifters, which are said to be defective. So they're hoping to force a recall and be able to correct those lifters there with the active fuel management, the dynamic fuel management. Something to follow there. It should be pretty interesting to see where that goes. We'll just have to watch and see what happens.
I'll be watching because that'll affect my car as well. And finally, in our news category, Keith, some good news. The 2022 C8 Corvette was Japan's Performance Car of the Year.
This is what happens when you design a car for the local population, right? I mean, we've been selling Corvettes over there for years, but they've always been the left-hand drive, and they've always been considered the imports from America that never really sold a lot. They'd sell 100 here, 100 there.
Right.
And then we got the mid-engine C8 Corvette with a right-hand drive configuration, perfect for Japan. When they showed it over there in Tokyo that first year, they sold 300 and some within just a couple days. And now the first cars are over there. The press is loving them. They've been driving them. We've been watching track videos. There was a panel, I think, of 60 judges, much like, our North American international automotive shows here with the Car of the Year. That's what they did, was they brought in these judges, over 60 of them, and they chose the Corvette as the Japanese Car of the Year.
That's outstanding. Well, buddy, let's take our first break, and in segment number 2, we'll talk about Corvette racing and Corvette rumors here on Corvette Today.
Stretch the life of your Corvette's paint with NovaStretch Performance Protective Covers. NovaStretch covers provide superior protection for your C5 through C8 Corvette, utilizing stretch fabric technology and an innovative fastening system for quick installation and easy removal and storage. Made in the USA for a tailored fit, the patented design and breathable mesh protects your Corvette without rubbing or chafing the paint like traditional bras. And unlike clear film solutions, NovaStretch provides full front-end coverage including the grille, keeping radiators and heat exchangers clean without creating airflow issues. Visit novastretch.com and use the code CorvetteToday15 to get 15% off your order. Protect your Corvette with NovaStretch.
VetteFinders.com is the Internet's original Corvette classified ads website, with classified ads starting at just $25. And every ad runs until your Corvette is sold. If you're in the market for a Corvette, VetteFinders.com has over 500 Corvettes for sale from all around the USA and Canada, and covering all 8 generations. Visit VetteFinders.com, the Internet's destination for buying and selling Corvettes. That's VETTE Finders.com.
You're listening to the Corvette Today podcast with Steve Garrett.
Hey, thanks for listening to Corvette Today, the podcast that talks about everything Corvette. I'm your host, Steve Garrett. With me every other week is Keith Cornett from CorvetteBlogger.com. By the way, all these stories that we talk about, if you want more in-depth details, you can always go to CorvetteBlogger.com. In the second segment, we're going to talk about Corvette rumors, Keith. There were 3 2023 Z06s seen on a trailer transport, and they were heading north to the Milford Proving Ground. And then there was another transport with 6 more. I was so glad to see that.
Yeah, and then there was actually a third one that had, I think, only had 1 or 2 on there.
Really?
So over the course of the last week or so, there's been public sightings of at least 10 to 12 Z06s headed up towards Milford. We know they're headed there. The drivers, what they had to do is they had actually some Stingrays on there. So they were stopping at dealers to drop off those Stingrays. And of course, people come out and look at the Z06s on the back. They're not wrapped. They're up there. And even the Z07 versions have the big wing on the back of them. So they're very noticeable. Our feeling is that they're going up to Milford. Some of them are going to be used for engineering. They do third-party engineering testing. And then hopefully the members of the Corvette team will start to be getting their captured test fleet vehicles, their CTFs, to be able to drive around and evaluate and to further test those as well. We know that as of the last time you and I talked, they hadn't received their CTFs yet. Of course, there's always those fun pictures of seeing these brand new Corvettes in the snow up in Michigan during the time that they are driving them. So we're hoping to see some of that stuff as well coming up shortly. But I think it's good news. They're building Z06s at the plant and they're getting them out and we're able to see them. And the other thing too is because we're able to see them without their covers, we're starting to see new colors. So we saw an Elkhart Lake blue. We haven't seen a black one yet, I don't think. And I don't think we've seen a ceramic matrix gray or the new caffeine. So there are a few colors that we haven't seen out there, but for the most part, I think all the other colors now have really pretty much have been spotted.
Wow. That's pretty cool. And also, GMSV in Australia thinks that they're going to start getting their C8 Z06s early in 2023 as well.
Yeah, they had a big event about a week ago. They had a couple different cars out there. It was actually their first time they could show off their full Chevrolet lineup of right-hand drive vehicles. Australians are crazy Corvette people just like us, even more so because they don't have the access as we do. And so when they get a chance to see them, they just go crazy. There was some cool video out of this event where they're checking out the new right-hand drive Stingrays there. Yeah, the big news for coming out of there was that they are going to be getting the Z06s possibly as early 2023. So that'll be about 6 months, 7 months after the production starts, if that's the case. We've actually seen some of the exports lag a year. I wouldn't actually blame Chevrolet if they did that this year just because the demand for the Z06 is so high. And we see some people don't really agree with the fact of exporting cars that are so heavily in demand here. Let the customers here get them. But the idea is it's a world car. And to be a world car, you have to be sold around the world. So get these cars out, let people experience them, and then let's take on the exotics from Europe and see what we can do.
All I can say is I can't wait for that Z06. It was a monster. What a beast.
Oh, it's going to be amazing. Yeah, that's for sure.
For sure. And hey, did we see an uncamouflaged E-Ray driving around?
No. Next question. That was not an E-Ray.
Really?
So we learned when they did the reveals, they actually brought some people up to Detroit. And one of the people they brought, I forget whether it was Supercar Blondie or whether it was Amelia, but they were in the Z06 prototype, and Aaron Link says, hey, sorry, we're actually in one of the older versions that doesn't have the real cool sounding center exhaust.
Oh.
So we know that they've got some older mules out there with the corner mounted exhaust. Actually, that's what we were saying. You know, Chevrolet has never shown a future product that's uncamouflaged until it's been revealed, even though the wide body E-Ray is expected to look similar to the wide body Z06. There are going to be differences there, just the same as the C7 Grand Sport was different than the C7 Z06, even though they were basically in the same wide body configuration. So yeah, this definitely was not an E-Ray. We talked to the professional photographer who took this photo. The people that I guess were driving this car, they were spotted the last time in the E-Rays when we had those last E-Ray camouflage pictures from.
Okay.
So I think he just kind of made the jump. And we were mistaken too. We were thinking that any of the wide bodies we saw prior to the reveal with the corner mounted exhaust were actually E-Rays. But I think that it's safe to say that we just don't know. Some of them might be an E-Ray, but some of them also might be these older Z06 mules.
Okay. Well, I was getting excited there for a minute, but I'll just hold on to my excitement, buddy.
I tell you what, Steve, it's the first time I bought spy photos to debunk something. I bought the photos knowing that it wasn't the Z06.
Yeah.
I think we're the only ones out there saying that this wasn't the Z06, where everybody else was saying, here it is, the new E-Ray. So,
wow. Well, good for you, buddy. Good for you. Let's take our final break, Keith, and in the third segment of Corvette Today, we'll get into the lighter side here on Corvette Today.
American Hydrocarbon, your one-stop shop for custom interior, exterior, and engine bay items for your C4 through C8 Corvette. We can help you create a custom look for your Corvette with carbon fiber or 10 different color patterns and styles. We've served customers in over 28 countries all around the world. Whether it's a custom-made engine cover for your new C8 mid-engine Corvette or custom-made C4 interior upgrades, American Hydrocarbon can help you transform your Corvette into a best-in-class show car. Our products have been featured in Vette and Corvette magazines, so give us a call. 813-476-5638. That's 813-476-5638. And now we're proud to announce that we can produce and distribute officially licensed GM products with a C8 Corvette. That includes the front splitter, the side skirts, engine appearance panels, and engine fluid caps. See everything on our new updated website, AmericanHydrocarbon.com.
Hey, honey, are you awake?
I am now.
I can't sleep. Since turning 50, I keep dreaming of a red door and a blue door, somehow knowing there are only choices for retirement.
Okay.
Through the red door, we outlive our money. We have to rely on our kids. We're stuck on a fixed income. It's terrifying.
Yeah, that would suck.
But through the blue door, our money outlives us. We retire on our terms. Our kids stay our kids, not our caretakers. We make work optional.
Yes, that's much better. That's what I want too. But what do we do?
We call True Wealth & Company at 913-653-8783. They specialize in helping successful people make work optional. They're our fiduciary Blue Door personal wealth managers.
Hey, where are you going? It's 3 a.m.
I can't sleep. I'm going to check out True Wealth & Company online at retirewithtrue.com. That Blue Door is going to be our retirement.
913-653-8783. Visit us online at retirewithtrue.com. Investment advice offered through True Wealth & Company, LLC, a registered investment advisor in the state of Kansas.
And now, back to Corvette Today with your host and my husband, Steve Garrett.
Hey, thanks for listening to Corvette Today. the podcast that talks about everything Corvette. I'm your host, Steve Garrett. Thank you very much for listening. With me every other week is Keith Cornett from CorvetteBlogger.com. We keep you current and up to date on what's going on with America's favorite sports car. In this third and final segment, we talk about the lighter side of Corvette. Keith, Corvette sends out a brand new launch video to Z06 subscribers, and I'm glad I was on that list. What a video.
Yeah, this was interesting. When you go to Chevrolet.com, if you were on the Z06 page, so I'll tell you how to get there. You go to Chevrolet.com. They have a list of vehicles on the tab, and one of those tabs says upcoming vehicles, and you click that, and it shows you the 2023 Z06. So if you click the Z06, you'll get the product page. You get some of the videos, the launch video. But there's a place there where you could sign up for updates, and they'll send you email updates. We got an email update this week from them. It was just mostly, hey, here's the new Z06. And they were talking about the design, and they called it a work of performance art with the different pictures that they have. But they included this. It was an unlisted YouTube video. It only had like 2,300 views on it when I saw it. So I knew that it was a little bit different than what was normally up there. So it's just essentially a lot of the, instead of like a lot of the performance driving talk, they focused on the design and the artistry of the design and put out that video. So again, just some people might not have seen it. It was recut from the 26-minute launch video.
Yes.
But if you want updates officially from General Motors, that's how you go get them. We do have that linked on our story if you just want to go to find our story and then hit the link there to sign up.
Sign up, everybody. It's a cool car. It's going to be hot, hot, hot.
Yes, it is.
Also, Keith, Top Gear in the UK reviewed the right-hand drive C8 Stingray. How did they like it?
I had high hopes for him. Once again, Top Gear lets us down over here in the United States. I don't get it. So they've got new hosts. We used to have Jeremy Clarkson hate on the Corvette, but at least he was funny about it. I'll give him props for that. We watched this. It was about a 10-minute video. They've got a guy there who just was spanking the heck out of the car. We featured him before. His name is Freddy Flintoff, and we saw him in a video with Oliver Gavin. So this is a longer video. So he's doing like a 6 or 7 minute track test. And then we see the Stig do a track test with the car. And then when it comes to the in-studio audience, we get nothing but basically Corvette bashing. Freddie, who just had a great time driving the car, said, I would take the Camaro over it anytime. And that's a left-hand drive Camaro, not a right-hand drive Corvette. So again, Top Gear, the driving sequences are fun. They're exciting. They're good to watch. And then when it goes to in-house, just go ahead and turn the channel from there.
Yeah, I agree, buddy. I agree. Also, we had a little bit of ingenuity. A hardtop convertible owner used magnets to show off his engine bay, which I thought was ingenious.
Yeah, this has kind of been one of these things out there where people really want the convertible, but they lament over the fact that they can't show off the jewel under glass like we get with the LT2 under the coupe and the hatch window. So what this guy did was there's 18 torque screws that hold down that heat shield where the roof folds down and separates the roof from the engine compartment.
Right.
So what he did was he took out all the torque screws and then he used these really strong magnets that he got off of Amazon. He's got all the instructions on his video. And what he does is he uses those and surrounds them around the whole thing, and then also uses 3M tape to put these little steel bars down that he also got from like a Lowe's, I think. So those magnets attaches to the steel, and it seems to really hold down that heat barrier pretty well. There is a little bit of a gap, and actually we saw another video where a guy was using insulation tape to actually get rid of those gaps and hopefully keep any kind of fumes or anything that's from the engine compartment within the engine compartment. But again, this original guy says he goes to Cars and Coffee, he hits the button on his remote, opens up that retractable roof panel, but then you can stop it there, in the open position. And then he just reaches down and pulls out that cover and he can show off his engine. In fact, what he did was he went out and bought the Edge Red cover that you see on the coupes. And he says it fits perfectly on the convertible.
Nice.
No problem there. You just snap it right in and there it is. And there's pictures of it. It looks pretty cool. And again, there's been some others that are improving on his design. So it'll be interesting to see what people come up with. Corvette people are pretty ingenious when they want to do something. We definitely saw it with this project.
Definitely. That was really cool. I thought that was awesome. Also, the C8 was number 15 on the fastest selling list from the group called IC Cars. That was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, we've been talking about these guys most of 2021 now. And in fact, this was the 11th survey, and Corvette has been featured on it 10 times this year. We are actually one of 4 cars to be featured 10 times and one of 5 cars to be featured more than 10 times. Pretty interesting stuff here. So we're number 15 on this list. What we're finding is that the average days to sell is actually slowing down. It used to be if you were first place, you were selling cars in like 7 or 8 days.
Right.
With this survey, we've seen it slip all the way down to 12.7 days. surveys. The interesting thing with the Corvette is, again, those transaction prices just continue to grow higher and higher. Last month, we had a transaction price of $96,100, and now our transaction prices are $96,600, $685 to be exact. That just continues to grow. It's a pretty stunning figure. This is something that's pretty cool. Again, Corvette owners, most of these cars are sold. It takes a little time to do some PDI and get them to the dealerships. But once they do, the Corvette owners, they're picking them up as soon as they can. So that's really what's been driving Corvette's participation on this list.
And staying with that theme, J.D. Power also named the C8 Corvette Stingray to the list of best cars for 2021 as well.
Yeah, we showed up well. So they do two different surveys. They do a quality survey and then like an overall appeal award.
Right.
And we ranked really well on both of those. What they did was they picked essentially the Cadillac CT5, Genesis G80, the Nissan Maxima, and the Chevrolet Corvette were all tops in their various classes. These are surveys based on customer interviews, and it's a complete opposite of what we saw from Consumer Reports when they named the Corvette as one of the least reliable cars.
Exactly.
Here we have J.D. Power saying it's one of the best cars, and they're both based on customer surveys.
Well, that's good to hear. At least we've got one counterbalancing the other, so that's pretty cool. Also, Mecum Kissimmee is coming up in January of 2022. They've got a heck of a lineup of Corvettes, including the 1963 Gulf 1 Racer. Talk a little bit more about that racer and some of the other cars that are going to be auctioned off at Mecum Kissimmee.
Yeah, the Gulf Racer was a 1963 fuel-injected Z06. It raced for Grady Davis and the Gulf Oil racing team. The Flying Dentist, Dr. Dick Thompson, used to drive it. This car's got wins all over different tracks across the country back in the day. It really shows well. I was telling you this before we started recording, Steve, that the last time this car sold was 2009 at Mecum Kissimmee, and I was there for that. I was just a fairly new blogger. And it was the first time I've ever been in a building and saw a Corvette sell for more than $1 million.
Wow.
I can just remember the feeling in the air was just really electric. It was so exciting. And in fact, Dr. Dick Thompson was there at the event, and I actually got a chance to sit with him for a couple minutes. I think he was in his late 80s or early 90s, just a little old guy, but he was very excited to be there. He actually said he was in Florida at the time, and he said that they brought the car by his house and actually let him drive Gulf 1 up and down his driveway.
Wow.
That week of the auction. When I got the chance to talk to him, I said, was this your favorite car or was there something else you liked? He said, no, the L88 was always the funnest. Pretty cool to meet two legends there, the Gulf 1 and Dr. Dick Thompson. But this car is coming up again. And in fact, Mecum calls this offering, they call it their once-in-a-lifetime Corvette offering because of just the number of top-shelf Corvettes that are going through it. We've got a number of Z06s, a number of these cars have been raced and are well-known race cars. And then some of them are just known for really rear options, tankers, the 06s, the L88s. So you're going to definitely want to check out Mecum Kissimmee this year if you're a classic Corvette fan, and especially if you like some of these race cars and the vintage racers. So really neat stuff going through this year.
Absolutely. And Mecum Kissimmee is coming up early in January of 2022. It's going to be an awesome auction. And if you're a Corvette lover, this will be heaven for you.
Yes, it will be. It's going to be a great auction. They really have expanded this. Before it was after Barrett-Jackson. Now it's before Barrett-Jackson. I think that helps.
Right.
And then also, there's a lot of people use this opportunity to come down to Florida in the wintertime to really have a nice time, be around Corvettes. Should be a great event. And Mecum always does a first-class job on these.
Good idea. Get out of Kansas City's winter for a little week of...
You might have to think about that, Steve. Yeah.
I think so too, buddy. Finally, our last story, Keith. This was really, really phenomenal. There's a video that Chevrolet put out called Holiday Ride. If it doesn't bring a tear to your eye, I don't know what will.
When you think of holiday car commercials, it's always, hey, look what I bought you without telling you. I bought you these two trucks, or I bought you this thing that's got a big red bow on it. It's just these crazy commercials. So Chevrolet went a different route this year. They featured a 1966 Impala, of all things. It is a real tearjerker. There's two different versions. There's a 60-second version for television, but I recommend you go to YouTube or you go to Corvette Blogger, pull up the 4-minute version because it's a mini movie. It's about a man who recently lost his wife. The connection to her and the car are very evident in the video. And then the daughter sees the pain her dad's going through and gets some car buddies of his to do an overhaul and special on his 66 Impala. It ends with the father and the daughter going on a Christmas holiday ride thinking about their mother. all really good, very much a tearjerker. But I've seen this commercial listed everywhere on all kinds of blogs and websites and not just automotive stuff. So it's obviously making an impact.
It's phenomenal. It's perfect for the holidays.
It really is, yeah.
Go check it out. You'll love it. Well, Keith, thank you for being on Corvette Today again. Thank you very much. Happy New Year, my friend, and thank you for your friendship and your partnership on Corvette Today.
Well, thank you so much, Steve. It means so much to me. We have such a great time doing this stuff. It's fun to talk with you every couple of weeks, kind of look back at what's happening with Corvettes and then how it's going to look in the future. And as we get into 2022, I think things are just going to continue to look brighter and better and moving on up. And of course, we've got a lot of exciting things happening, and there's still so much more that's coming down the road. So stay tuned with us and Corvette Today, and we'll keep you updated on the latest Corvette news as it happens.
Thanks for listening to Corvette Today, and please be sure to tell your family, friends, and other Corvette enthusiasts about the Corvette Today podcast. And also thanks to our flagship sponsors, American Hydrocarbon at AmericanHydrocarbon.com, True Wealth and Company at RetireWithTrue.com. Also, Aerolary Wheels, get $100 off your purchase with the promo code CT100 at Aerolary.com. Also, Novastretch Bras. Use the code Corvette Today 15 and get 15% off your total purchase at Novastretch.com.
You've been listening to Corvette Today with Steve Garrett. If you'd like to contact Steve with any thoughts on the podcast or ideas for guests on Corvette Today, you can email him at stevegarrettdj@gmail.com. That's stevegarrettdj@gmail.com. Garrett has 2 R's and 2 T's. Or connect with Steve on social media on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram using @SteveGarrettDJ. Thanks again for listening to Corvette Today.